Okay, YouTube, this is JL Chambers 82, and as promised, this is my first game review. This is the Sega Saturn up and running. I have in there an ST key with the 4 megabyte memory expansion. What this allows us to play are Japanese games, as well as a handful of Japanese games that required the additional 4 megabytes of memory to play. Most of those were some Capcom games, some fighting games. In this case, we have a kind of a rare Capcom game. It's an arcade game. It was one of my favorites. It's Dungeons and Dragons collection. It's Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara, I believe it's the other one's called. It's in Japanese, so I have a hard time understanding it. But we're going to take a look at the first one, which is Tower of Doom. And a lot of you guys will probably recognize this. Other than the Sega Saturn, this was not ported to any system. And let's go ahead and get this started. Now, unlike some of the other games that required the 4 megabyte expansion, this game has load times. The other games that use it, they might load one time and that's it, and you never have another load time the entire time you're playing the game, which is completely awesome. It's really like being at the arcade. And Sega had advanced 2D capabilities, everyone knows, and most of these games really took advantage of that, and this is one of them. Here we have a load screen, and this is going to be common throughout the game, unlike some of the other games I'll show later on for Sega Saturn that used the SD key. Alright, there's Tower of Doom. Pumped a lot of quarters into this game back in the day, and it's cool because it was pretty cheap to do that, actually. The arcade that was by my house, or the closest arcade to our house, it's called The Wizard, and all the games there were a quarter, with the exception of maybe like a Daytona or a driving game. They might have cost $1, but some of the new games too, maybe. But for the most part, everything was a quarter, so it was pretty cool. You can go and hang out there all day and play, and there was a mall maybe a couple miles away, so you could go hang out at the mall and hang out at the arcade. It was a pretty dirty arcade though, pretty seedy, but it was pretty cool. I mean, you can't beat the price, right? And let's see, you can play as a cleric, a fighter, an elf, or a dwarf. And it's all in Japanese. There is no translation, unfortunately, but you know, you don't really need hack and slash. Is pretty much, these kind of games translate themselves universally. So let's take a look at this. Alright, let's write our name in Japanese. I have no idea. I'm just going to pick which symbols I think look cool and just kind of hit start. I hope I offend no one in Japan that might be watching this, because that would definitely not be my intention. And yeah, I mean, if you remember the arcade, the graphics and the speed are spot on. I don't remember the controls, so give me a minute. There we go. Throwing some stuff. Those don't do anything. Alright, let's go. Alright, I'm going to pick up a book, because we all know barbarians like to read. And we're going to kill some little, I don't know what these guys are, kobolds? It's like half gremlin, half raccoon. And then these guys. And then these are like your secondary weapons. You pick these things up, and it replaces that thing that you throw. Alright, and the cool thing about this game, it did, even though it was an arcade game, it did have RPG elements, which you had some paths and stuff you could pick, and in this case, who knows? Let's go with this one, it's shorter. Cool. And see, again, it's going to load. But it's pretty quick, but still, you know, it does have load time, so it's not as a fluid arcade experience, I guess you could say, but considering they didn't port this to anything else, I'm not complaining. And I didn't know that this game was as rare. I bought it back when shortly after I got my, as soon as I found out, actually, that wasn't a good move at all. As it was available for the import Saturn, I just got my SD key, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. Bought it off eBay, and now I was checking it the other day, and it's kind of crazy. It's getting up there in price. I think you have like similar like Street Fighter moves in here. Let's see if I can execute some of those. It wasn't just, I mean, yeah, it's hack and slash, all Golden Axe, but, and yeah, you get to pick up loot and gold. There's a block somehow with the shield. You use a secondary weapon. I figured this out. There we go. Oh, I'm reading that. Good. Stop and read the sign of the pub while under attack. There we go. There's a little sliding action. But this really isn't. In most of my game, I'm not going to even say game reviews really anymore. I think just game views would be a better term, because I'm just going to look at them and let you know, who might have fucking put on a critic's hat and judge any of these games. I think they're all cool. The worst video game I ever played was still a video game, you know. And I played T back in the day for Atari 2600. That's right, several times. We bought it. I probably convinced myself that I like it. Get another load screen. But yeah, it's, I mean, really sharp graphics. I mean, it would be brighter than this, but it's on a DLP, and a lot of you know that 2D games were not meant to, or not 2D games, but these old generation games, they weren't, you know, meant to be played on these high-def televisions at all. But looks pretty good. Oh man, no. Of course I want to continue. It's the best part about having these things at home. In the arcade, this would cost me like $30 to run through it, you know, in quarters, but at home I can... God, these people are so helpless down here. Shut up! You're not helping. You're not helping by talking at all. I understand what's going on. You don't need to remind me. Okay. Alright, just killed that guy. I'm gonna save you guys, better have some money in this for me. And you level up in this game, it's cool. It's got some minimal RPG elements, but yeah, you get to level up and everything, so it's pretty cool. I don't know, is this an innkeeper, or... She's kinda hot. Alright. Oh, and if you remember this game in the arcade, you could play up to, you know, 4 players, and on the Saturn you can't. You could only do 2. Not that the Saturn didn't have different add-ons where you could play with 4 controllers. It's just, I don't know, I'm just gonna buy one of everything if I can. Yeah, it's just that something about the, if I read correctly, like that even with the RAM card it couldn't handle it. So, but there's an exit there. Evidently, there are cheats and things to this game. I could not probably figure them out because I can't read the Japanese to enter them in, but if you like to cheat in games, which I do, as I said, I'm not a gamer. I don't have any integrity to protect when it comes to my gaming reputation. Alright, here we are at that place. And I know there's got to be other buttons that do something. It isn't just these. I guess it is. And it's crazy, you know, hack and slash, they have a bad reputation nowadays. Of course it wouldn't be tolerable to have a, you know, it wouldn't, well, not tolerable, acceptable to make a game like this, you know, that just go one way, push a button, everything's the same. But, you know, for arcades and, you know, having 4 people, you know, having 3 of your friends stand there and play with you, you know, brings back a lot of memories, you know, a lot of, like, you know, Chuck E. Cheese kind of moments, and actually it was called Showbiz Pizza back in the day. But, yeah, I mean, dreamed about playing these things at home. And this was actually, I think it was a 32-bit arcade board. So I think that's why I never saw like a port to home systems. I mean, it's pretty big characters and everything, I can see that. But overall, I mean, I've seen better side-scrolling games on the Saturn, no doubt, and with less load times. But yeah, this is a, you know, it is a fantastic game by Capcom. It's definitely always been one of my favorite arcade games. And yeah, if you, I would completely, yeah, definitely recommend picking it up, even if it is kind of expensive on eBay. You know, I think if I read online correctly, they did port this to PC sometime in 2003, so you might be able to get it that way. Or those of you that run emulators, I mean, I'm not, I don't believe in that stuff. You know, I don't believe on, you know, Capcom's still in business, so you know, I'm not going to rip on a company that's still in business and take their software. If they want to release it, they'll put it on a disc or something, you know, and we should all just wait for that. But again, I'm running out of time, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just call this a video. Thanks for tuning in.